What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Cole Mize with ColeMizeStudios.com, where I strive to make you a better rapper now. And today, I just wanted to switch things up and just talk to you for a moment and give you a little bit of a word of encouragement to hopefully help you write better rap verses. And that's by understanding the power of the word iteration. Now, when you hear a lot of your favorite rap songs and your favorite rap verses or whatever, you're hearing it in its glorified, perfected state. What you don't hear is the process that it had to go through to get there. And a lot of times we forget that when we're writing our verses, and it discourages us because we feel like we're less than or we're not good enough because our stuff isn't just sounding amazing yet. And I just want to encourage you and let you know that's totally normal. That's a part of the process because we create things in iteration. And by iteration, I mean, hey, it's not in its perfected state when it comes out. You have a premise that you have, an idea, and you go ahead and jot that down. And now you try to improve upon it. You try to build upon it. You try to perfect it. And so for an example, you may be writing one bar and it may take you 5 or 10 minutes to write that one bar because you're juggling so many different things. You got a rhyme scheme you're chasing, or maybe you got a concept for a punchline, or maybe you're already thinking about the next line and you want to make sure that current line sets up the next thing that you're about to say, or maybe you're trying to finish a thought of what you said on the line before. You see, there's a lot that goes into writing our verses. It's like playing chess. You know, if you've ever played chess, it's a little bit more complicated than checkers because there's so many different variations and different moves that you can make. And there's so many different repercussions and consequences to every single change that you make. And that's how people get in trouble with chess. They make a move, but they didn't take in consideration what the opponent could do in response to that. And that's how people get caught up. And so a lot of us don't realize, man, and we don't take in consideration how much time and effort goes into stuff that we already love and enjoy from our favorite rappers. And so, for an example, let me just rap a verse for you of mine, and I want to talk to you about it just for a moment. Check this out. Life is but a symphony constructed of us. See, we're just the instruments conducted by the God above us who resides in us, beloved. Love is harmony with one another, but we're divided, or so it seems. What if I don't want to pick a team? According to what the media is feeding us, it's black and white. I guess I'm caught up in between because I'm mixed with Cherokee, but never found a tribe. Never found a box that I fit inside. No label's been able to describe me, accurately to identify me. But maybe that's the way it's supposed to be, because I believe that Martin Luther King had a dream and gave a speech that would teach us not to judge someone by the shoes on their feet, color of their skin, car they driving in, what they believe in, vegetarian, how many Benjamins can they fit up in and pick on their Instagram through the hollow lens, but by the contents of the character, whether you a priest or a prisoner, living in a mansion with cabanas, homeless in Atlanta, sleeping on the curb, neither one defines who you really are. We have more in common than we do apart. We were once children playing in the park, hanging out and chilling on the monkey bars, eating candy bars at the dark on the hood of parked cars, counting stars. We're all a symphony, and if we want to be in harmony, we got to play it from the heart. So that is a verse I wrote. It's been a few years back, but it probably took me about 45 seconds or so to rap that to you. I easily spent 2 to 3 hours at least on that verse. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of rhyming. There's a lot of wordplay. There's a lot of imagery that I'm using. And, you know, I end the verse in a similar way that I begin it. I begin it to tie it all together with the life is like a symphony. And there's a lot that went into that. There's a lot of thought and consideration that went into that. So just on one line when I wrote that, I'm not exaggerating. I wouldn't be surprised if it took me 10 or 15 minutes just trying to perfect one line where there's like a lot of dense, like internal rhymes and stuff like that. And so that's one thing I want you to be encouraged by. I want you to get from this video is don't be discouraged when you're writing and you're feeling kind of stuck. You're like, okay, what I have coming out isn't amazing. That's good. That's a great place to start. That's where we all start a lot. See, okay, what do you not like about it and how can you improve upon it? Okay, so like, and also with that being said, don't wait for something to be perfected before you write it down. That's another mistake we make. We feel like, oh, once I write it down on the page, I'm committed and that's it. No, never be 100% committed to anything you write down. If it's raising its hand to you later, when you listen back, trust that, change it, fix it, do whatever you got to do to make it feel good to you now. Like Kanye West, when he was creating his legendary debut album, College Dropout, He was making changes to that album all the way up until the very last moment that he had before it had to be sent off to be distributed and be duplicated, like the CDs and stuff, to be sent out to all the stores. And he was making big changes. Like I heard he was changing like the hooks and stuff like that with the singers. Like instead of having like one singer on the hook, he's bringing in like a whole choir to sing on the hook. Like he was just making crazy iterations. And I guarantee you, he probably still wanted to make even more after the fact, you know? And there's a balance to this whole iteration thing too, because we're chasing perfection. And by perfection, I don't mean that it doesn't have flaws. By perfection, I mean whole, complete. Like it doesn't feel like anything's missing. It feels like there's nothing lacking, you know, because we have to have a standard to where we say something's good enough, or we'll never call something done and we'll never call it finished. Like with Kanye West, he was making those iterations up to the very last moment. And I promise you, if he had more time, then he would have still probably kept on doing that as well. He's a genius, you know, it is what it is. So 2 things real quick. Don't wait until something's perfected before you write it down. Go ahead and get that idea down, that concept down, so you can start tweaking it and building upon it. But also, just because you write something down doesn't mean you have to be 100% committed to it. And an iteration is giving you the freedom to change things. Don't feel tied down to anything that you do. Always give yourself the freedom to go back and tweak something or change something if it doesn't feel right. Perfection, whatever that means, is achieved, or wholeness or completion is achieved by multiple levels of iteration. And unfortunately, we don't get to see that typically with our favorite things that we consume, music, movies, and stuff like that. You don't see all the hours and the editing and stuff that goes into it. You see the final product. And a lot of times you're sizing yourself up while you're in the process of creating with something that's already gone through that whole process, and it discourages you. And I just want to encourage you not to be discouraged by that. Give yourself the time to create. Don't put all that unnecessary negative type of pressure on you when you're creating. Iteration is a beautiful thing, and it doesn't just apply to writing rap verses. That's anything in life. Most businesses that succeed failed multiple times before they finally succeeded. And that's because within each failure, there's lessons, right? An L is never a bad thing as long as it's a lesson, right? It's never completely a loss as long as you learn something. And that's how we get better with anything in life. It's iteration after iteration after iteration, incrementally improving and getting better each step of the way. It's like, I think of it like game mechanics, like a video game. The first level is typically pretty easy. As you advance in that game, things get more difficult and more complex, requiring more discipline and less room for error. You see what I'm saying? And so it's kind of like that process where sometimes you got to play a level several times over and over and over again until you get every single move right, every time right, and then you advance to the next stage. So if you're someone who's discouraged about the creative process and feeling like you don't love your stuff, you may just need to give yourself a little bit more time to work on something, or give yourself more freedom to go back and change things that you've already put down. Okay, iteration is such a powerful thing, and I hope this encourages you in your creative process. My name is Cole Mize with ColeMizeStudios.com. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe for straight to the point how to rap video tutorials, and make sure you get yourself a copy of my ebook, The #1 Fundamental to Rapping. It's going to give you a really quick layout, a really easy read of how rapping works, and it's going to share with you the #1 fundamental to rapping and improving your rap skills. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. My name is Cole Mize, and always remember, when it comes to rapping, there's no rules, there's only techniques.